This episode is brought to you by Galileo FX, the world's top trading bot. Galileo uses advanced algorithms and customizable strategies to enhance efficiency, reduce errors, and operate 24/7, providing a significant advantage over traditional manual trading. Go to GalileoFX.com to learn how you can start automating your trades today. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode here of the BlockHash podcast. Today, I have another exciting guest. Ben Caselin, CMO of VALR, a pioneering global crypto exchange. We're going to talk about VALR today and learn more about what they are doing here in 2025. Ben, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on. How's it going?
Thank you very much. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Ben, to kick things off, I'm sure people would love to know a little bit more about yourself and your background. If you don't mind sharing a bit about your personal journey and what kind of led you into this wonderful world of Web3 and maybe what some of those original inspirations were.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I've been based in Hong Kong for a number of years and actually kind of rolled into Web3, as it's now called, the crypto space back then, I guess, through writing. So I was actually working together with my brother with a number of companies, mostly tech companies in Hong Kong, across across AI, across security, across fintech, and this thing called blockchain. And as we were writing about it, I kind of grew fascinated, and it led me to Bitcoin most specifically. And I realized like this is a very interesting space. So then I joined a crypto exchange, which by now is defunct, unfortunately. But at the time, it grew quite large in Hong Kong, and I was there for a number of years. We traveled the world. We engaged many markets and many audiences, and for sure, it kind of fueled my passion, which led me to Dubai eventually with another crypto exchange, which was interesting experience. And while I was sitting at the Burj Khalifa, actually, I overheard this conversation, and it was very interesting. It was a conversation about spirituality and kind of spiritual principles and crypto. And so while I was tuning in, I realized that the guy was talking about the Baha'i faith, which is the same religion that I grew up with actually as a child. And I always thought that I was the only one in the crypto space with this background. So for me, it was very fascinating, and I kind of intervened or kind of forced myself into the conversation. Like, hey, this is interesting. And we exchanged some contacts. We knew some common people. One of my best friends, actually, who moved back to South Africa. And it was just a few months later that he contacted me. He was like, Ben, actually, are you interested in this role? And so I checked it out. I thought, VALR. I looked at some of its underlying principles. I connected to it and joined since a little over a year ago now.
That's awesome, man. Can you explain also a little bit about VALR and maybe what the core mission is in terms of some of the solutions that VALR aims to provide to the market and maybe what makes it different and unique as an exchange?
Yeah, absolutely. So VALR, as it's pronounced, it really stands for courage. And so that might be interpreted as, the courage that people need to come into a new kind of financial universe. It might be courage to enter the markets. For the founders, I guess it's more about the courage to start something new. They left their stable jobs and, put all their efforts and financial resources into building an exchange. But it's also about the courage to stick to your principles. And so I believe what really distinguishes VALR more than anything, although the tech is wonderful and everything is built from the ground up and it's all very solid, I think what's unique about VALR is that it is a values first exchange. And so that really means, that sometimes you have to make difficult choices between values or profits. And VALR always makes the choice for values. And that leads to some very interesting innovations. At least it leads to interesting decision making. We can talk about what VALR does, but there's also a lot to say about what VALR doesn't do. And so, for example, we don't actually have an exchange token. We didn't go crazy with leverage. We don't list every meme coin under the sun. We didn't jump on Luno, or what is it, Luna? Actually, Luna is one of our competitors. So we did jump on them, actually. But in terms of Luna, we didn't jump on that. And, there's a whole bunch of things that you shouldn't do. And I think that's what really distinguishes VALR. So VALR has been very compliant when there was no compliance yet, nothing to comply with. And that really enabled VALR last year to very quickly to be among the first exchanges to be licensed in South Africa. So South Africa, the Financial Sector Conduct Authority, FSCA, they've granted us a Category 1 and Category 2 license, which is pretty comprehensive. And so that's put VALR in a very good place in South Africa, Africa as a whole, and globally, actually.
Okay, interesting. And yeah, I noticed that Valor seemed to be born out of South Africa. Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. So even though the founders are not necessarily, well, there's four co-founders, and two of them are more from South Africa. One of them is from the States. One of them is from India, actually. But they were all working in South Africa, and so that was the logical base. And most of our staff are in South Africa, even though we're a fully remote company. But by now it's 7 years ago that VALR was founded. So by now we do actually have a global workforce. So for example, I'm based between Hong Kong and Vietnam. We have staff in Malaysia. We have staff in India, in Baku, in the States, pretty much everywhere in the world.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I talked to a lot of different projects and companies in the space that are based out of places like Hong Kong or Singapore or London or Dubai, but I haven't talked to many out of South Africa. So I think it's pretty cool. And I'm curious if you can talk to what the landscape is kind of like there as well. Like, are there more Web3 startups starting to crop up in South Africa? Is it going to start turning into a bit more of a hotbed in terms of maybe developments? I'm just kind of curious because this is a first for me.
Yeah, it really depends how you look at it, right? So, you could say that you could assume that Bitcoin was developed in the developed world, you could say. But the uptake, right, and the adoption really takes place mostly in the emerging markets, first and foremost. And so, what we see in South Africa is really quite a significant adoption rate of Bitcoin and US dollar stablecoins like Tether, mostly because the local currency isn't that all that great. And that's across the emerging markets, right? Everywhere in the world. It's just that the whole power dynamic is different. The banking system, although compared to the rest of Africa, is quite solid in South Africa. There's still, there's capital controls in place. It's a pretty tough financial landscape to operate in. So crypto really offers quite a lot of efficiency and solutions in that sense. Um, I think as well, if you look at Chainalysis, they've always placed South Africa pretty high up, globally in terms of the top countries in terms of crypto adoption. So all of that is not surprising. I would also say that the licensing in South Africa is pretty decent. Maybe it's among the foremost in the world. So I know we often talk about VARA in Dubai, and we talk about Singapore has a licensing regime, and Hong Kong has come up with a licensing regime. But the one in South Africa is pretty comprehensive, and the regulators are very keen to collaborate. And it's much less about kind of protecting the status quo and much more about taking on the opportunities, which I believe is much more similar to El Salvador, for example, which also is very much leading, right, in terms of Bitcoin adoption. In fact, in El Salvador you have El Zonte, right, the whole circular economy that kind of took things to the next level. But similarly, in South Africa, you have projects like that, so that work in the townships, and we really do see the adoption of Bitcoin at a quite deep societal level, and also stable coins, by the way. So I think there's a lot to say for South Africa in terms of companies. There's a whole bunch of projects. I couldn't actually list them, but I do know that since the licensing regime has come out, there's a lot of crypto firms that are applying for licenses and being granted licenses as well. And I think also in South Africa, what's quite interesting is the adoption at the corporate level. So there's quite a lot of companies that either work with VALR, for their own kind of financial needs. There is remittance companies, and there is financial firms that we're working with. We've actually signed with a number of banks. We cannot disclose it yet, but these are foremost banks in Africa that will be offering stablecoins mostly, and I think even Bitcoin to their customer base. So for VALR, it's really not just about acquiring users directly. It's also about serving corporations and companies, and really assisting in the kind of widespread adoption of cryptocurrency, across the whole spectrum of finance. So South Africa is very great for that as a place to innovate at that level.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, especially with this industry being, global and people being able to work and a company together all over the world, having a good foundation for laying roots for a company and a good jurisdiction is really important these days, especially when people are constantly innovating. So it's good to hear that about South Africa. I imagine more startups and projects will want to kind of gravitate towards there at some point. Definitely want to ask about trading when it comes to VALR as well. And I'm curious maybe what some of the products are that are available on VALR that maybe enhance that trading experience. Like, do you guys offer things like futures and margin? Do you offer anything new, kind of like auto buying, or anything kind of similar to that? What are some of the standout things that make the trading experience quite fun and unique?
Yeah, absolutely. So Valor, has really actually developed most, if not everything that you mentioned, over time. And the exchange has been around since 7 years. So at the base level, actually at the base level, we have very good on and off ramps in South Africa. So we're very connected to the banking system. So people can instantly basically deposit from their bank accounts. But globally, we also take US dollar, we take euro, and then very soon, actually, we're in the last stages of integrating with some, payment service providers. So very soon we'll be able to offer on-ramps for most currencies, albeit via credit card. But that's still important. And then, go a level up. We have a simple buy sell product. So very easy to just come in. You have, it's like a swap, basically. You just swap into whatever token you might want to buy. Um, and then, a level higher, more advanced trading, it would be a spot, of course, spot trading. And so I think it's very important to know that we have our own order books, right? So, the liquidity is really where we are. That's where the liquidity comes from. It's not just executing every trade, like hedging on every other exchange. And a lot of exchanges, might not have a lot of liquidity themselves, but we definitely have liquidity because our user base is quite active. So it's definitely, as you might know, Valor is the largest exchange in South Africa and Africa as a whole, actually, in Africa by trade volume. And then you go a level up. We have margin trading, so people can basically borrow and if they want to have extra exposure at spot. Then we go to futures trading. So currently we offer up to 20x in leverage, and this will be ramped up further. But we're taking it very easy. Our matching engine is is cutting edge, but we're very serious about risk management. So we built that out slowly. Then we offer lending. So when you lend your assets like Bitcoin or USDT, actually the rates they change every hour depending on the demand, of course. And the lending is actually, is for margin trading. So if a lot of people are trading margin, then the lending rates go up. There's more demand. So that's pretty interesting, healthy yield in that sense. And then if you don't want to lend, but you want to stake instead, you can stake Solana, TRX, AVAX. And so basically what we do is we take your assets and then we go out to like a Solana platform and stake it for you. And now on Solana, you might have a lockup for 2 weeks. But if you want to unlock your funds, you can do it instantly. So we kind of carry the risk there, which makes staking on Valor really interesting, actually. I would say, especially for Solana, it might be the number one place to stake your Solana. It's quite flexible. Um, and then we also, well, currently we're rolling out DeFi lending. So basically, if you want to go on Aave and you want to lend out your assets, that's fine. You can also stay on Valor, and then we do it for you. So you can take advantage of that. And we're actually looking at other protocols as well. So you can kind of look for the best yield. So really, those are the core products, I would say. Of course, API trading is very strong on Valor because we serve quite a host of corporate traders and kind of institutional participants who almost, almost all of them trade via API. So, the API system is very good. And I think what's interesting there is that we offer, we offer unlimited sub accounts. So, maybe for individuals, it's useful as well. If you want to manage your risk. So maybe you have one sub account to trade futures, you have another sub account to just solely trade spot, another sub account to just hold your assets, however you want to organize it. But in addition to that, we also have shared accounts. So maybe, you and your friends are trading, or you have a company with employees that you want to give access, but not give them the ability to withdraw assets, or you want to maybe basically it's a whole governance. It's a whole spectrum of governance that you can control. So yeah, that's pretty convenient. And then we do VALR Pay, of course, so people can transfer assets. Pretty expansive product suite, I would say.
Interesting. There's a few things I want to touch on there. One of them I want to go back to is risk management. Leverage can be an interesting thing, very very good, but also very bad if someone doesn't have proper understanding of how to use leverage. Curious if you guys have like any educational materials or resources for people to kind of access and learn a bit more about how to properly use leverage when they're trading and investing, but also how to do it through Valor specifically and the things you guys offer.
I mean, of course, we have a blog where there's educational materials. We do host webinars every now and then, but we do actually, when it comes to leverage trading, look, a beginner in crypto is better off just trading simple buy sell, maybe spot, maybe hold your assets. And the way we look at leverage is it's really a tool. It is actually part of risk management. So perhaps you want to hedge against your own risk in terms of what you hold, and yeah, it really depends. Like you can abuse any tool. And so what we haven't built is a gambling house. So Valor it's really about giving people new tools and easy access to a whole range of financial instruments. And leverage trading is of course quite a sophisticated instrument to work with. Um, Now the way we operate that is pretty solid. So we started with quite low leverage, and actually most of our users trade with low leverage, 3, 4x. But yeah, you could come in and trade 20x. It's cross collateral, so whatever you're holding is in that sub account is kind of part of your collateral and your position. Um, we kind of when we liquidate, that's quite a delicate process, so we liquidate very gradually and in small increments, always looking at minimizing the loss and minimizing the risk for users. um, you know Other than that, really it's at your own peril, or it's your own skill that you need to build out.
And you also mentioned APIs too. How flexible are those in terms of maybe someone wanting to plug those into a trading algorithm or a bot or another third-party software that they might have? Like, what's that flexibility kind of like in terms of what they could use it for?
Yeah, absolutely. So the API has very high rate limits. So we're very suitable for high frequency traders, and we do actually see a lot of different strategies being deployed. So for sure with algorithms and kind of trading bots, but a bot makes it sound very easy. It's really more kind of proprietary algorithms that people are deploying. So on the one end, we see very aggressive taker strategies. But then we also see organic market making. So of course we do have a bunch of market makers that we partner with to make sure that there's a liquidity on the books. But through our competitions, we run quite a host of competitions, and some of these competitions are very much focused on making the market. So it's very attractive for sophisticated traders to kind of really aim to tighten the book, tighten the spread on the book, and get very close to the price and have sophisticated algorithms in place to try and be the maker for all trades. And there's competition at that minuscule level, which is good for us. It's good for the user, and that leads to organic market making, which I think is very healthy. It's a very healthy order book.
You also mentioned Valor Pay, which I think is something that's really interesting and that I would really like to try out. I'm always looking for different, applications for remittance services or being able to pay a friend or, send money for whatever purpose, especially living internationally. Like I'm from the US, but I live in Colombia. So, it's a normal thing to send money back and forth for family and, be able to pay for expenses and whatnot, especially when you're traveling. I'm just kind of curious, like, what is Valor Pay being worked out to be? Like, what is it? Is it designed to be like a Raya or a Remitly? Is it different in certain aspects? What's kind of the overarching goal for Valor Pay?
Yeah, interesting, right? So there's a lot of exchanges where you have the brand name and then pay. So there must be some similarities there, but it's a different level. So actually, in South Africa, there's a very popular, I would say, I think it's a what do you call it, a grocery store. There's a very popular franchise grocery store thing. It's called Pick and Pay. So people do groceries there, and you can go to any Pick and Pay in South Africa and basically make a payment with VALR Pay, which means that whatever cryptocurrency you're holding, Bitcoin, USDT, XAUT, right, which is tokenized gold, you pay for your groceries. And I think that's very interesting because rather than holding your South African rand, which kind of devalues over time quite, it's very volatile and it devalues over time. Like you could also choose to hold USDT or USDC or Tether Gold if you're into gold, or Bitcoin if you're into Bitcoin, or Shiba for that matter, and just pay your groceries on the go. So I think there's a lot of benefits to that. Secondly, VALR Pay it's basically an internal transfer. So if you have a VALR account and I have a VALR account, I can send you any of the cryptocurrencies that are in my wallet. I can send it to you for free. So there's no cost attached, of course. I can also send you South African Rand. I just don't know if that's very useful for you. We don't actually, we don't have US dollar in our order books, right? We have USDC, we have USDT, we have Euro C, but we don't actually hold Euro or hold US dollar. Like that's not currently what's allowed. So other than the South African Rand, basically it's about sending crypto. But for free. So, if I want to send you Bitcoin, I can do it over the Bitcoin network. It's fine. There's a small fee. It's 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, whatever. Or it's instant with VALR. So that's one thing that you can. And then on your end, wherever you're based, if it's in Colombia, like maybe Colombia, maybe you can withdraw your assets there, or I don't know, convert it back to something you like. So that's one thing. There's no limits in place necessarily. Except for if you're sending out like every 10 seconds, then there's some limits there that come into play just to avoid fraud. I think another use case that's interesting is that if you don't have a VALR account yet, I could note down your phone number or your email address. I can send you assets on VALR Pay for free. So whatever, I send you 100 USDC, you'll get an email or an SMS, and it tells you like, hey, this was sent to you. You can claim it, but you need to open your account, do your KYC, and then it's in your account. And if you don't claim it, then after I think it's 3 days, it comes back to my account. Like this wasn't claimed. So it's a very interesting acquisition tool as well for us. Or if you want to bring your friends into crypto, like that's a very good way to kind of introduce them to crypto. So that's currently the use case. I think so. It's not necessarily with a card or anything like that. We may roll out features like that in the future.
That's really cool. So if you go to like a grocery store in South Africa to use VALR Pay and you're buying your weekly groceries, does it automatically convert the crypto you're holding into the local currency to pay it, or do you have to do like that transaction separately on your own, or how seamless is it?
No, so that's pretty seamless. So yeah, that happens in the back end. So whatever you pay with, that immediately gets converted. And let's say Pick and Pay on the other side. So the grocery store just gets South African Rand. But you've made your payment in USDC or Avalanche if you want.
Is this on the App Store or Google Play Store?
This is just part of the app. So if you have the VALR app, which you can download on Google Play, or what is it Google Play? Google Play or the App Store. Yeah, you can just download it. It's part of the VALR app, the VALR universe. However, unfortunately, it seems to me that you're a US citizen, so and we can't actually serve you.
I'm both US
But
and Colombian, so potentially I might be able to.
yeah, well, Colombian, we would definitely be able to serve. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to try that out. That's awesome. Are there any like restrictions or limitations in terms of like the amount you can pay at once or that you can transact in, or is it, kind of, open?
No, it's more about the number of times you're transacting. So, because there might be some fraudulent activity. It's nothing you would notice if you're just using it in a normal way. Now, can you send any amount? Don't hold me to it. I don't think there's really a limitation on the amount because it's all within our kind of platform, right? So we're very aware of kind of who our users are and this type of stuff. But don't hold me to it. I mean, if you want to send like 100 Bitcoin, I'm not sure if there's a limit on that.
Can businesses, whether they're small or large, also set up accounts with VALR, whether they want to use VALR Pay or whether they want to use exchange services? What's that process kind of like? Are there any requirements for that, or is it pretty easy to sign up?
It's pretty easy to sign up. Of course, there's a few more additional steps. So we do actually serve. So we serve 1.3 million customers, traders, everyday people from around the world. Around 70 to 75% are in South Africa, and then the other 25% is just globally. And then we serve 1,300 corporations. So that's pretty significant. A lot of them, most of them are, yeah, most of them are in South Africa, but also across Africa and other countries as well, including in Asia. And it's very interesting. It's different types of companies that just either need some simple financial services or conversion services. There's companies that are set up specifically to kind of take advantage of structural arbitrage opportunities in the South African market. You know, certain premiums that come up. Uh, Actually, they're just structurally there. They're higher and lower at times, but they're always there. So yeah, we serve actually one important product that I forgot to mention is actually our OTC desk, and that's primarily where we serve institutions and corporations who just want to kind of buy USDC in bulk. So actually, we're one of the largest minters in the world in terms of USDC. So we partner with Circle on that, and that's very surprising, right? But I think that's also cool about VALR. Like, it's not just about the exchanges that are coming from Asia or from the US or from the UK for that matter. It's really actually to me it makes a lot of sense that one of the kind of strong exchanges is coming from the African continent. And so it was very interesting for me to join coming from Asia to be coming into this new universe. You know, the emerging markets. It's very interesting to me.
Absolutely. Do you see a lot of like retail companies as well that are setting up accounts with Valor? Because I can imagine them wanting to offer, Valor Pay is like a form of payment as well for maybe a service or a product that they offer. Aside from a normal transaction, it would make a lot of sense.
Yes, I cannot mention the names, but basically there are two very sizable remittance companies that we've signed with, we've partnered with. They're currently busy integrating, building out their strategy. They'll roll out their product very soon, and they serve Africa as a whole. For kind of remittances and cross-border transactions, and so they'll partner with Valor. It's very easy then for people to buy USDC or kind of take advantage of US dollar stablecoins, especially. Yeah. So we see that, and also we see, and as I mentioned, we actually also are partnering, signed already, but it takes a little while with some very large banks, which I think is really fascinating, right? For banks to start offering crypto offerings to their or crypto services to their customer base, and we're talking like 20 million, 30 million people in terms of a customer base. So, indirectly, through these types of large players, Valor can actually serve a much bigger user base than we currently serve directly.
Awesome. No, that's good to hear. That's awesome. Especially to get smaller businesses involved in this as well. And you kind of start to build out a little bit of an ecosystem in the areas that you're in. So I think that's great to see more of in this space.
We also very recently, I think it's a month and a half ago, we saw another company in South Africa called Altvest Capital, and they've basically announced that they're taking on micro strategies, or let's say strategy, Michael Saylor's strategy, and yeah, they're aggressively kind of adding Bitcoin to their treasuries, and so we see that now coming up in South Africa. There's been conversations as well at the kind of higher level, right, the central bank level and stuff, but of course those things take longer. Um, but generally, I'm very bullish on Africa, not from a kind of meme coin perspective or a speculation perspective, but just in terms of true adoption of this asset class, and especially in these current economic times. Uh, you know, of course, there's a lot of friction, but also there's a lot of room for change and innovation, and yeah, it's going to be a very interesting time.
Absolutely. And Africa as a continent is positioned pretty well for that. A lot of emerging markets seem to adopt this type of tech a lot faster than in developing markets or even first world countries. I live in Colombia a majority of the time, so I see it every single day here in Latin America. It's very similar to Africa. There's a high degree of affinity towards Web3 and solutions like this and things like Valor more than even in the United States, even though there's more structural framework in the United States. So yeah, there's tons and tons of opportunities. Very excited to see what happens in Africa as a continent, but especially in places like South Africa where there's kind of an evolving ecosystem there.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I don't know about Colombia, but I do know that some of our biggest traders are actually based in Brazil, also corporations. Yeah. So we do serve Latin America, but it's mostly corporations that come in and take advantage of our making the market or whatever it is, right, that they want to do organically. So it's been very interesting. And yeah, I think, Africa and I guess Latin America, Southeast Asia, they have young populations as well. So you compare that to a place like Japan or Korea or Europe, maybe even the US, I'm not sure. Like emerging markets usually have very young populations, which, it's all about the future, I guess.
Yep, that's absolutely true. What's on the horizon for Valor here the rest of this year? Do you guys have any upcoming updates or milestones for users that people should be aware of, or anything in terms of your guys' product suite for trading, staking, new things that might be coming out this year that could be offered? What should people keep an eye out for?
Yeah, so I mean, on the future side, we only recently raised leverage to 20x, and our users seem to enjoy that and appreciate that. We will be raising that a bit more. I'm not sure to what level. It might be 40x, and it might take a little while. We're not going to go much higher, but generally we have to kind of balance between what we think is prudent and what our users are asking for. Um, in terms of focus, like this year, actually, we're very focused on South Africa. So last year was more about global. And, we kind of went all around the world. We attended Singapore, sponsored it in a big way, Token 2049, went to Dubai, went to Malaysia, to Taiwan, Hong Kong, a whole bunch of places. And realized, actually we want to strengthen our product more and strengthen our user base. So um, even though last year we actually doubled our user base, and that's kind of on a 7-year time horizon. Last year was quite intense for us in terms of growth. This year we're very focused on South Africa, so that means we'll be sponsoring or partnering with a big sports team as well soon. Cannot say anything, but let's say around July we would be announcing what that might be, and that's going to be pretty significant and pretty impactful, and everybody in South Africa will know about it. Um, we will also be attending Istanbul. I think it's Istanbul Blockchain Week. So we'll be heading to Turkey, which is wonderful. Also, just because we want to explore that market. The Turkish market is structurally very similar to South Africa. It's also an emerging market. Inflation is worse there. Adoption rates are high there. There's a lot of volume. So actually, for us, Turkey is very interesting. And we can see if that works out. Last year, we actually launched our app also in Chinese. So I think what's very unique is, usually you would see Chinese companies, going into Africa and trying to grow there. But in this case, it's actually an African company going into Asia, and we launched our Chinese brand called VALR, which means powerful and happy, and it's easier to pronounce for Chinese friends. And so, yeah, we're also kind of very seriously exploring Asia, Middle East. We actually are already allowed to serve the European Union. We just can't actively market there, but we can serve customers there if they come to us. Then it's good to know that South Africans are all around the world, so there's quite a sizable diaspora. So that's another kind of entry point for us into kind of other markets. But I think this year is really about South Africa. While and actually this year we're also launching, or we're partnering with payment service providers, so we'll be able, as we grow in other countries, to take on their to offer some on ramps for them that are more easy. But next year we'll probably pivot back to global, and we're currently very seriously looking at various markets. So that might be Turkey, it might be Kenya. We've seen a lot of uptake in Kenya recently, and there might be some other markets that come to the forefront.
That's exciting, man. Sounds like you guys are very ambitious. So you guys will be doing quite a lot in a short period of time, and awesome to see an African company go into Asia too, and to offer something as well. That's something I'm sure they very much appreciate, and you don't see very often. So kudos to you guys for all that you're doing. Where can people go to learn to start trading with Valor, get signed up? Is the website the best place to go? And then do you guys also have like a community or a place on like Discord or Telegram where people can kind of hang out and chit chat about Valor?
Yeah, so we don't do Discord. We have limited capacity in handling all these social media channels. But of course, we're very active on X, Telegram as well. But I would not start there. I would just start at the website, valor.com, VALR.com. I think if you scroll down, you see all of the handles and can kind of connect socially. Open up an account. You get a lot of emails. We'll probably allow you to filter that out at a later stage. But there's a whole bunch of emails, whether it's announcements or newsletters, or we run a lot of competitions. So also now, if somebody signs up and they buy $50 worth of Bitcoin, I think, or any crypto, perhaps, they get a gift, and we don't pay out vouchers. We actually pay out USDT or Bitcoin or whatever it is. So we do actually share a lot of value, um, and we try to do that every month. So we run trading competitions. Sign up. There's incentives to sign up and do your KYC. There's incentives to start futures trading. Uh, I think it's very rewarding, and that's also kind of the philosophy. We're looking to grow together with the user base and really offer more. So we want to offer a trading platform, but also very much a kind of trusted platform where people can go and feel at ease with their assets. And maybe more than anything, Valor aspires to be a financial institution. So rather than saying we're a crypto exchange, people can come and go crazy, actually, we're building a financial institution, and financial institutions generally are transforming. So banks, have to transform, and crypto exchange is not necessarily the future, right? The way that we've seen crypto, like Mount Gox was not the future. FTX was not the future. So also, crypto exchanges are evolving, and I think, Valor takes a very conservative approach that might be a little bit boring, and that makes it a bit more difficult to grow in Asia, where people are very thrill seeking. Um, but you can only lose your money so many times until you think, you know what, maybe it's not about a thrill, maybe it's about stability and about trustworthiness and integrity and honesty. Like these types of values are very core at Valor. They stand at the core at Valor, and also in terms of just how we operate as a team internally. There's a zero tolerance policy with regards to lies. So, like, if you get some type of, I don't know if it's a lie, whether it's a white lie or just a lie within the company kind of dynamics, that's not accepted, and that's not everywhere. That's not the case everywhere. So that kind of policy starts with the team, and it kind of radiates out to the way we operate in the market. So we're compliant, we're quite transparent, uh, honest order books. If you don't see any trades, if an order book sucks in terms of liquidity, it's because nobody's trading it. So there's no mirror trading, there's no wash trading, there's none of that. So that's kind of what it means, right? When you're an honest exchange.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys lead with a lot of valor, so it's good. It's good. I think I think that's something that most people probably are secretly craving with a lot of exchanges, given what's happened over the last few years and all these different hacks and companies going under and people losing money and trust in third parties and custodians. So it's important to do this stuff, and boring is fine too. Yeah, it's harder to market probably. You probably know that as a CMO, but at the same time, the fundamentals are everything at the end of the day. So keep up the great work.
Yeah, thank you. It's true. There are limitations in what you can do also from a marketing perspective. And of course that's a little bit different from what I'm used to in the Asian markets. But I think, 7 years for an exchange, that's a pretty good track record. And at the same time, while it's true, people are looking for trust and stability, a lot of especially young people around the world are also looking for opportunities. And because they're looking for opportunities, there's still quite a big margin for unsavory practices, unfortunately. But the idea would be that if you stick to your principles and just kind of stay your course and kind of aspire to maturity over time, that we believe is what wins the market. So we're in no rush to kind of gain market dominance. We're just sticking to the staying the course, and hopefully in 10 years we're still there, and in 20 years we're still there, and in 25 years we're still there. And I don't believe that that's the case for every exchange or every protocol out there. And however you've done with marketing, FTX was very good with marketing, and they did a lot of stuff to kind of grow the brand, and then it collapsed and it was gone overnight, right?
It's probably a thin line to walk sometimes between, the trust and transparency that's absolutely necessary and offering 40x leverage, doing things that people crave, in terms of that exhilarating experience in trading and the opportunity. So, keep up the great work with all that. And I think you guys are setting a good standard and a good precedent. And we'll put all the links as well in the description below so people can easily find VALR and get those resources. But Ben, this has been a really good conversation, really good episode. Really do appreciate you taking the time today to dive into what VALR is, what it means, what you guys are aiming to do, the trading, the staking, VALR Pay. I think you guys got a lot of awesome things going, as well as South Africa too. It's really good to hear that there's a lot more coming up out of there and growth and an ecosystem starting to build. And so excited to see what happens there. And keep me updated over the course of this year when more comes out with VALR, and maybe we'll hop on for a part 2 episode to catch up as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, and hope to speak again.